Anime Declassified is a podcast run by the Anime Secrets website. Check us out at animesecrets.org for more anime, video game, tokusatsu content. Remember to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts today.
And welcome back to another exciting episode of the Cosplay Anime Secrets podcast. I'm your host, Muchhotness Cosplay, and today we're joined by J-effin-K. Say hello. She also does go by Kennedy.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me, Anime Secrets.
Yeah, we're super excited that you're here. Thank you so much again, and go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I am a cosmaker and competitive cosplay competitor. I actually started cosplay a year and a half ago. I started making my own cosplays a year and a half ago. What really got me into the cosplay community was, I believe it was end of 2021. It was I think the first Anime Frontier. I'd never been to an anime convention before. I didn't even realize they were in Dallas, which is where I'm based out of. Until a coworker at work was like, "Oh, girl, you're into anime too. Why don't you come to an anime convention with me and my friends? We're dressing up, but you can just come and hang out." And so I was like, "Okay, that sounds cool. Didn't know they were here in Dallas." I went with her and I had the most amazing time. So what I wore, I decided I was going to dress up too. I had an Amazon Araka bodysuit from My Hero, and then I had when I bought a store bought Sailor Moon, and I wore, and I was like, this probably doesn't look super great, but you know what? We're gonna make it work, and I'm gonna have fun doing it. And just the supportive nature of the cosplay community, the convention. I'm just wearing something I bought, and people were coming up to me, telling me how great I looked, wanted a picture with me, and just I saw that positivity everywhere, and I saw the body inclusivity. Everyone was so supportive of everyone. I was like, wow, this is a very, very special community. And I was like, at that point was like, I want to get more involved in this community and do more. I've always been kind of a crafty person, but I didn't sew. And so I was like, I really want to get into this. So I decided a few months later that I was going to teach myself to sew. And so my first debut was at A-Kon 2022. I made my first versions of my gender bent Gintoki from Gintama and my gender bent Shishomaru. Oh, sorry, that's my cat. And then and I loved it. And again, looking back now, I was like, those were they were good. I mean, for my first try working on chiffon, they were great. But I just really found my love for it and decided, you know what, I'm gonna just keep growing, making myself better. And then I decided to adopt the cosplay name J-effin-K in August of 2022. And I competed in my first competition in October of 2022, where I won Best Novice. And from then, I was just on a competing high. I just fell in love with it. And again, the positivity has just increased and increased and increased in this community. And I feel like I'm very fortunate to be in the competitive community, and helping, spread that love, keeping that positivity around is something that's been very important to me. And I've been very blessed to be able to contribute to that scene.
Honestly, that was kind of really touching. I was feeling something. I was like, I think that's amazing. No, I really, that's great to hear about, because you've only been doing this for 2.5 years or so now.
Mm-hmm.
No, that is honestly amazing. Your cosplays are so good too.
Thank you.
Of course. No, you're fine.
The Bishamon that's up right now, that's actually the one I won my first cosplay contest with. That was the third cosplay I made.
Wow.
And so I still have that cosplay, and I still wear it. That's very close to my heart, is that cosplay.
Yeah, no, it's literally incredible. We'll go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you at.
Yeah,
online.
so I'm on Instagram, and I do have I just started Patreon. I've never been a huge social media person, even though I grew up on the edge of millennial Gen Z. I grew up in the country where I didn't have internet most of my life, so social media was still very foreign to me. But I am on Instagram, so it's j.effin.k _cosplay. It's a lot I was gonna do just J-effin-K, but there is a tattoo place called Jeff Ink, and it looks just just like that. So I had to put some distinction. And I just started my Patreon, probably like a little over a month ago. But I'm working on having a lot more content than just like photo shoots on my Patreon. This year, my goals for 2024 is I'm focusing on master builds for large competitions. And also I'm starting to create patterns. And something else I did notice is I used to be on the heavier side. I had gastric surgery 2.5 years ago and lost 100 pounds, but I struggled with my weight almost my entire life. And so even though I'm in regular sizes now, I used to be in the plus size, community. And so my heart's still kind of there. And I know that there's a huge need in, having size inclusive cosplay. So this year I'm working to create patterns and have those available on my Patreon that will have size inclusivity. And so that's what my goal will be. So my Patreon really will be starting to focus towards having different kinds of resources for cosplayers and including tutorials for anyone, for wigs, foam work, and for sewing.
Wow, no, that's awesome. Thank you so much for always like spreading all that positivity. Everybody needs that in this community so
Mhm.
much. So, all
Yes,
right.
thank
Well,
you.
I was gonna ask you some more questions, like when did you start cosplaying and
Oh
everything, but
yeah.
you were so good, you already covered it.
Well, I mean, yeah, I do love talking about how I started because it was very special and it really was an eye-waking moment, especially when I started. I had just gotten my gastric surgery, so I was just starting to lose my weight. I was starting to kind of feel comfortable. I feel like I've talked to a lot of people in the community, and a lot of people I've talked to had very similar stories to me, especially if you grew up as a female, in the mid 2000s in the South. There were a lot of really toxic um, just behaviors and views on body image. And I was, kind of one of those victims where, I grew up, I didn't appreciate the fact that I was healthy, and just because I wasn't a size 4, that didn't mean that I wasn't beautiful. It was if you aren't like Paris Hilton, you're fat. And so I developed an eating disorder. And then once I got out of high school and got away from all that, my eating disorder went the opposite way. And,
Mm,
then I was in a really bad situation. Then I looked back and went, God, I hated myself for so long. Like growing up, I thought I wasn't pretty. I thought I wasn't skinny enough. I had all these negative, thoughts of myself. And then once I got past that and I had that surgery, it was just this, revelation to me of I'm beautiful. I love my body. And cosplay has really helped me learn to love myself in ways that I don't think I never did in the past, and really appreciate it. And I feel when I talk to other people, I've met so many in this community who their story is just like mine. They went through the exact same thing, but they're in that phase of they still don't love themselves and they're still trying to find the love for themselves.
mhm.
And for me, cosplay did that. And so if however I can spread that to others it's a very important um, topic for me. And I always spread it, and I try to do everything I can to be as inclusive as possible for all things within cosplay. And I think it's important to help everyone have the same success, have the same opportunities. So I
Mm,
don't gatekeep. I don't believe in gatekeeping. I have people ask me, well, is it okay if I ask how you did this? Is it okay? You don't have to tell me if you don't want to, but and I'm like, no, I'm not going to
mm,
gatekeep any tools or tricks or tips I've learned through even my short journey, because we're all here just to enjoy this. This is a hobby, this is a craft, this is an art form, and
mhm.
we should all be able to enjoy it. And I think that's something I really, really promote in this community.
No, 100%. It sucks that like people would ask you things like, "Oh, it's okay, like you don't have to tell me. I am curious though, because then like somebody in the past has like not wanted to tell them,
Hmm.
stuff like that." And that's just really disappointing because we're all just nerds trying to have a good time.
Exactly.
So,
And it is sad to hear that. And I've actually experienced it myself too. Even when there was a convention one time where I was guesting, and at this point I'm
mhm,
still a master level cosplayer, and I had someone who was cosplaying, and they had something on them that was a really like high level, but it was like one
mhm,
thing they focused on. And I was like, hey, question. Like, how did you achieve that? Because I'm working to get that. Like, is there a better way of doing it? Because the way I'm doing it's like, I feel like it's a really hard way, and there's got to be an easier way to do this. And they looked at me and went and scoffed off, and I went, oh, okay.
That's
have,
so
have a good
unfortunate.
time. But it happens a lot. And so I can imagine for people
Yeah.
who, aren't cosmakers and they're just like running, wanting to know, it's really sad that it's that prevalent in our community. But, it just takes a few of us to start breaking down those barriers.
No, for sure, for sure. So thank you so much
Oh, no
for
problem.
helping with that.
Yeah,
Um,
so I always tell people, I've done workshops and things like that in the past, and I'll meet people at conventions, and if they follow, my Instagram, I always tell them, if you have any questions about a cosplay, if you're like, hey, I want to do this cosplay and I don't know even where to begin on how to make
mhm,
this, or I feel like I'm gonna have to do something really technical and I don't know how to do that. I tell people all the
mhm,
time, feel free to reach out to me anytime. I am more than happy to help direct you in the right direction of fabric choices, techniques that you're going to have to do, whether it's you have something with a kimono and you're going to need to use silk, you're going to have to do a French seam, and here's a tutorial on how to here's some good, resources on how to do those kind of things, or, foam work, wick work. I may not be able to give you a detailed explanation on how to do it through Instagram, but I can definitely help you get to the right resources and what are the right paths to go for making something.
yeah, no, that's great. I mean, like I keep saying, like that's great. Like I just feel, I don't know, speechless, just because you just seem like a really genuine person, and it's really refreshing. So
Thank you.
sorry, my like responses are so just like very generic. It's just it's not often to where you're just like blown away by somebody, that you feel like you can definitely relate with them. And I don't know. So I'm just really happy we have you here today to talk about all of this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like I said, that the cosplay community has done so much for me, and so as much as I can give back, I love. And I genuinely just love helping people. I've always been kind of a teacher kind of person. It's not what I do, but I've always just naturally done that. And I truly love cosplay. I now, like right now, I have a workshop I'm building right now, because I grew out of the spare bedroom I had. I grew out of that, and so I'm converting my garage into my new workshop. So I had to put up a background because it's still got bare drywall right now. But yeah, like changing my house to be able to accommodate all of my cosplay stuff, just because I just keep developing more and more. Um, but that's going to allow me to help others and provide more tutorials and things like that I can start getting out. But I never stop creating on my cosplays. I love them all equally. There's probably, if someone asks me what my favorite one is, oh, it's a hard choice. They are all so special to me. Yeah, I don't think there's a single cosplay that I haven't done. And this, I always have to tell people, I'm a cosmaker, I'm a competitive cosplayer. I don't try to be elitist or anything like that, but I make all my cosplays. There's only a few cosplays that I've done that I have not made, and they were all collabs with like a large
Mhm.
group. And it was someone invited me, and I only had 2 weeks until the shoot, so I did not have time to actually build something. And they were very simple, so I just threw something together. But any of my actual cosplays that I have that are just solos, those are cosplays that I've done, made myself completely. And that's something I pride myself on. Um, and I feel like if I could give people advice who are wanting to cosplay or even wanting to start making cosplays, is one,
Mhm.
it's a lot of practice. Um, my cosplay journey may be short, but I can promise you, people are like, oh, you taught yourself to sew. You've only been sewing a year and a half. How are you so good if you're competing at you're at master level sewing? I don't just sew my cosplays. I started sewing everything. Half of my wardrobe is clothes
Oh.
that I've made. I work full-time job. I was working a full-time salary job, so I was working crazy hours. I would come home and sew for 4 to 5 hours every day. Weekends from 8 a.m. until like 2 a.m. I'm sewing and foam work. And I did that for over a year.
Mhm.
when people try to go, well, I've been trying to make my own cosplays for this amount. I've been, starting to do that for a long time. And I'll go, how many hours a week do you spend, working on cosplays or teaching yourself those skills? An hour or two. I spend a full-time job's worth.
Yeah.
So, if you meet other cosplayers or you feel discouraged because you're not making, like, your progress isn't progressing like others, you can't compel yourself to others because you don't
Yeah.
know how much time they're dedicating behind the scenes. And I've been fortunate enough that I've been able to dedicate that amount of time. I understand that a lot of people don't have that kind of time. You may have families, you may have other job
Mm-hmm.
dedications. You have things that are hindering you in having that, and that's fine. Just know that
Mm-hmm.
not to compare yourself to others. And if you're going to start cosplaying and making your own cosplay, especially if you're trying to build a brand, the biggest mistake or biggest thing I see people do that I try to shy people away from is always cosplay characters that you love. Don't cosplay
Mm-hmm.
characters because they're popular, they're trending, or whatever. If you like the character, you like how they look, they're your personality,
Mm-hmm.
that's what you should cosplay. It's so much more fun and rewarding when you wear a character that you have a lot of love for. Um, all the cosplays that I make, some of them are very, very niche. Some of them are kind of mainstream, like Sailor Moon, Shishomaru, Barbie. Um, but the ones that I truly love the most are my really niche characters. My Warden from Nanbaka, my Ririchio from Inuboku Secret Service,
Mm.
surprisingly Gintoki from Gintama. Those always hold such a special place, and my photos turn out the best with those because I love those characters and I fully embody them. I will say Gintoki is my favorite to photograph. It is my favorite at cons to do at cons. It is my favorite because I have just so much, like, I have so much fun with that one. It's so good. Um, and that's really the key to cosplaying is it should come from a
Mm-hmm.
place of love, not for popularity.
Yeah, no, that's super important to keep in mind too, because yeah, like a lot of beginner cosplayers, they start out, they're like, oh, well, I see that this character's popular,
Mhm.
maybe I should just go ahead and try to make their cosplay. Well, if you're gonna spend all that time, that effort, and that money into doing that, why wouldn't you want to do somebody that you actually like really love?
Mhm.
To me, it just feels like a waste to wear it like twice when you spent like upwards of two or $300 on it. But I mean, everybody's completely
Yeah.
different, so there's no judgment.
No,
But
I mean, it's a free
yeah,
space. It's an art form. It's a free space. Do what you want. If you happen to love that trending character, go for it.
mm-hmm,
Um, but it's just so much more fun when you cosplay a character that you truly identify with or truly just love or can embody them. And then especially if it's a niche character, I've heard a lot of cosplayers who are like master or they're guesting or very
mm-hmm,
popular cosplayers like, oh, I'm not gonna cosplay that character because nobody knows them and they're not trending. It's not gonna give me likes. And then I see
mm-hmm,
baby cosplayers go, oh, I should do that too. And I'll say I started my brand on cosplaying niche cosplays. And I've never focused on whether I'm getting likes or focused on follow. I've always just cosplayed because I love cosplaying. And because of that, that's become kind of my brand. And I've developed, I have my group of people who they're like, J-effin-K is going to do the cosplays that we don't get to see. And I feel like, I think when I first did Ririchio at Colossal Con,
mm-hmm.
I had like 4 people recognize who my character was. I had tons of people say that cosplay is beautiful, you look great, no idea who you are. And I had like 4 people go, you're from Inuboku. The light and smiles and excitement on their face they're like, no one has ever done Inuboku Secret Service cosplay. No one's ever done. I've never seen Ririchio, and I love that show. It was amazing. That to me warms my heart and is worth every bit of it when I have people who I hit that demographic. Those are my people. They know it, and I'm giving representation to characters that otherwise we don't get to see, in a lot of the fandom circles. So that's probably my biggest
Mm-hmm.
PSA is cosplay characters you truly love, not just for trending.
Yeah, I think that like a lot of people can tell like whenever you're really, really passionate about something too and stuff like that, and they can tell the difference. I think that that's like one of the main reasons why I like really like doing this podcast with different people, because you get to see like a real and a genuine side of them. You get to see like why they cosplay, like what they're really into, like what the actual community is all about. It's not just really pretty pictures on like Instagram and stuff. There's a lot of work that goes into everything that you guys do. And so it's just like we really need to take that time and appreciate that aspect of it as well. So,
Mm-hmm. Oh, I 100% agree. I I always encourage people to, if you want to make cosplay, you love it, definitely get into it. But do be mindful. It's kind of one of those like toxic venom situations where it's gonna like seep into your life and take over your life. So get ready for that. But it's it is something that it does take a lot of work, and something I also see, especially on the competitive side, is you know why like competitive cosplaying, having to make cosplays versus just why can't regular costumes that someone purchased or commissioned, be eligible. You know, the competitive cosplay community is very much about it's the craftsmanship, it's the skill, it's the dedication. That's what you're competing for, not necessarily the character. It's more of showing off those skills and that craftsmanship that takes a lot of time and effort to do.
mm-hmm.
And that's what's being rewarded here. And it's expressing it through the love of our favorite characters. But, it very much is it's a very labor intensive love. And a lot of people don't see that. But if it's for you, go for it. And you shouldn't let it hold you back. And also, closet cosplays are valid. I think every form of
Mm-hmm.
cosplay is valid depending on what you want. I mean, you could do everything from like me making your cosplay at 100% or modifying or even buying and commissioning, because I'm starting to do commissions
Mm-hmm.
as well, and there's nothing wrong with commissions. Because again, it's about being your favorite character. That's all this is about.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice. Absolutely. Um, I feel like I was gonna go through so many things with you, and I was like, okay, we're gonna touch on that, and then I was like, okay, she touched on that. Okay, she touched on that. I was like, oh my God, I don't know what to ask.
You're fine. Let's see. My favorite color is pink.
Okay,
My favorite snack, something that you will always find in my cosplay room, literally in my house right now, I have 4 bags, and that is hot Cheetos. My favorite are the limon ones. Those are my favorite.
okay.
Everyone comes, they're
No,
like, Kennedy, those are horrible for you, right? I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. They're
I mean,
great.
when you stay up and you sew that late into the night, you're grabbing
Yeah,
whatever you want. You're
yeah.
not worried about it.
Hot Cheetos and like a Celsius, or an Olipop, I like the grape Olipops. Those are always in my cosplay room. And I guess I have several animals. So I have 4 cats and I have 4 dogs and a chinchilla. That sounds like a lot, but I have a lot of land. I live out in the country, so I've got lots of acreage. Um, but yeah, I love my kitties. My kitties are everything. Um, and and then I've had a chinchilla that I've had since high school. So
Wow.
that's pretty interesting.
Chinchillas are so soft. They're so
They are.
soft.
He his name is Senor Sparkles. Because when I got him from
Mhm.
where my parents got him, we were told it was a female. And for
Oh, okay.
like 6 years, I believed that he was a female until he had gotten an injury in his cage. He hit some metal and scraped his eye. And so we took him to the
Mhm.
vet, and they're like, "No, this
Mhm.
is a male. This is a male chinchilla."
Oh
And
no.
you're like, how do you not know? Well, they're so fluffy, you can't see through anything. So you can't actually, you have to actually like scope through their fur to be able to find their gender. And he already knew his name. He knew, like, he comes to Sparkles. So we couldn't
Yeah.
change it. So I'm like, it's now Senor Sparkles. Um,
You just add the
but
little
yeah, so
prefix.
he's a sweetheart.
Cute. No, that's super cute. Ah, I love animals. Uh, well, I'm trying to think of something else because I know that like your main fandoms are going to be probably anime based, would you say?
Yeah, yeah, I'm definitely more on the
Hmm.
anime side. I mean, I'm working on all kinds of cosplays. I think if I had started cosplaying like several years ago, I probably would have been more on the comic book side, but
Hmm.
I love doing I recently did a DC cosplay. That one actually, I will say my Blackfire, which I haven't fully released that set yet.
Ooh.
It was a Teen Titan shoot.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna buy it because it was gonna be so last minute. Um, and I was working on a bunch of other cosplay commissions at the time, so I was like, I'm gonna make this pretty quick. I'm just coming in to help some friends out and have some fun. And my pieces arrived, and none of them fit properly. And I was
Mm.
like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So I ended up making it all from scratch anyways. So that one worked out, but that one was more on the DC side. So I was starting to kind of do branching out, looking into that. One of the big things that I'm starting to do is I'm, really focusing on really big competitions, really big master
Mm-hmm.
builds.
Mm-hmm.
So this year I've got mine planned out, but my partner, who has always been my cosplay handler, and if I'm at a convention and you're trying to find me, because I've been told I'm a shapeshifter, and most cosplayers are, is if you see a man in a Pokemon Hawaiian shirt, that is probably my handler. That's how he like distinguishes us, and he's usually got a backpack, but I'm probably close by if that's around. He's made that his brand. Um, but he's decided that he wants to kind of start competing with me, and
Oh,
so changing
okay.
it from J-effin-K to just J-effin-K Cosplay. And so we're going to start going into the video game side as well. Our
Mm-hmm.
dream build is doing Big Daddy from BioShock and Little Sister. And so he does all of my partner does all of my 3D modeling and my
Mm-hmm.
prep work for my 3D printing, while I do all the sewing and foam work and paint work and prop building.
Mm-hmm.
So his goal is to build a full like Big Daddy working drill cosplay. So we're planning that for either 2025 or 2026.
Mm-hmm.
But for this year, which I've been getting ready to release what my cos plans are for this year, is I'm about to start working on Jean from Genshin Impact. I will be doing I'm redoing some pieces on my Rory Mercury. I had some malfunctions happen with my axe on like right the day before San Japan. I almost just didn't go to San Japan. I'm glad I did, but I almost just didn't even want to compete because of the malfunctions I had. So I'm fixing Rory
Mm-hmm.
to recompete. And I'll be at WeebCon here in March to compete with Rory.
Woo-hoo.
And then, yep, I'm cheering you on. Um, and then at the end of the year, I'm looking at doing Albedo and Ans Algol from Overlord as a couples competition piece.
Nice,
So we got
nice.
some. So my main fandom is in anime, but I'm starting to branch out to video games and even a little bit onto the comic side.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, like, honestly, BioShock's gonna be amazing because that's really intricate. Like, that's gonna take a lot of time, so
Yeah,
that's exciting.
he's very ambitious too with the level of detail. He's like, I want a fully working drill, fully coded LED lights to different signals, the steam, the whole 9 yards. The little
Mm-hmm.
sister like is gonna have like a fully operational drinking syringe. It's gonna be a massive, massive build. So we're looking for 2025, 2026 for that build.
Yeah, good. That way you guys like don't rush it or whatnot. So
No, no.
no.
Luckily, we've got several 3D printers now. If I've gotten any cash prizes from my competitions, they have
Hmm.
actually all gone to purchasing more 3D printers because of how much um, we use them, and we're looking at doing some commission work on 3D printing. So 2024 is going to be, I cannot wait for the rest of 2024. This year is going to be huge. I'm going to have so much launching in 2024. This is I finally got my platform in a workspace where I can really start giving back and not even and building more of a brand and more of a label with JF&K. So 2024 is going to be a really great year, and I hope everyone kind of sits around to see what happens because there's going to be some really cool stuff coming.
I definitely feel like they'll be waiting to see what you do next because all of that sounds really fun. I'm really happy to hear that for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, of course. Was there anything else that you would like to say to us or like to explain? Because I think that about covers it.
Yeah. I think I was able to get everything unless you had any other specific questions. Feel free to go through my Instagram, Patreon. I've got I have a free level and just like the lowest level they'd let me have. I'm going to be adding more free content on and start really building levels and having more personalized services on Patreon. Um, and also, I'll be launching some other social media stuff in the future. I haven't mentioned it because I don't have my timelines yet for that one. That one I'm still playing by ear, but I'm planning on branching out my social media more in the coming year as well.
Wow, you are going to be super busy.
Yeah. Oh, I do
Make
have
sure you take
TikTok. I
time
do
for
have
yourself.
TikTok as well. So
She has everything. Oh, what's your TikTok?
it's the same. It's J-effin-K Cosplay. I do have in my Instagram, there is a link tree in my bio that will take you to Patreon and to TikTok.
Perfect.
So
Perfect.
it's the exact handle as Instagram on TikTok.
Nice. No, that's literally perfect. Well, thank you so much again for coming on and just like explaining your story. It was great to hear, and I'm so glad that Rizwan was able to get you on here.
No, thank you guys. Thank you. I really do appreciate this opportunity. And, it's again, we are cosplayers because we love the spotlight. And so if anyone says they don't, we do. That's just part of it. So I
Yeah.
can't say that I'm not excited to do these kind of, interviews and opportunities and meeting people and chatting. I live for it. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can come back anytime.
Thank you.
All right. Well,
Okay.
thank you so much. I guess that about wraps up today's episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. My name is Muchhotness Cosplay, and we'll see you guys later.